How we doing, everybody? UFC Thoughts here, and as you can tell by the title, I've been conjuring up this list. I was thinking, what would every champion need to do to become the divisional goats in their own division? If you get what I'm saying, of course, every division in the UFC, there is usually a consensus goat for almost every division. Light heavyweight, of course, is John Jones. Welterweight GSP, heavyweight Stipe Miocic. I thought I'd go through and kind of talk about the current champions and what they would need to do personally in their career to surpass the mountainous climb that is the divisional goats in every division. Let's get right into it. Let's start with the flyweight division. Of course, our champion in the flyweight division is Alexandre Pantoja, and the GOAT, and the divisional GOAT I have for flyweight is Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. You could somewhat make an argument, I guess, of Davison Figueiredo being close to contention, because he did actually beat a lot of good guys, but I think Mighty Mouse, his main claim to fame is his 11 consecutive title defenses, and also just, he was dominant forever, so it's kind of hard to deny him. I'm going to go based off resume. I think that resumes really speak to who divisional goats are, so let's get into it. Alexandre Pantoja's resume at flyweight: Brandon Moreno 3 times, technically only twice, but if you want to count the Ultimate Fighter win that he has over him, also the Ultimate Fighter win over Kai Kara France, you can include that. Wilson Hayes, Matt Schnell, Manel Kape, who is main eventing this weekend, who is kind of a mainstay of the flyweight division as of right now. Brandon Royval 2 times. The second Royval win is aging like fine wine, considering Royval has won 2 in a row. Alex Perez, not really a clinical win like the Royval or Moreno wins, but it's the fact that he finished him in such quick succession. I think it was like a minute and 30 seconds at UFC 277, immediately subbed him. Steve Erceg, who that age is kind of aging pretty bad. It'll probably age even worse after UFC Mexico City, depending on how that fight goes. And Kaya Sakura, which we don't know how that win's going to age, but who knows? Maybe Kaya Sakura becomes a fucking goat. Who knows? Losses. Pantoja has 3 flyweight losses: Dustin Ortiz, Davison Figueiredo, and then his last loss, Askarov, in I believe 2020. It's a solid resume. At flyweight, you have a guy like Brandon Moreno 2 times in the UFC, same with Brandon Royval. You have the other wins like a Manel Kape, like a Perez, like an Erceg. Matt Schnell was decent when he fought him. Wilson Hayes was kind of older when Pantoja fought him. Kai Sakura making his debut. His resume has some really high quantity and then like a couple of mid wins. All right, let's get to Mighty Mouse, which is kind of similar. Ian McCall. Joseph Benavidez to win the title. He beat him twice, defended later. John Dodson twice, defended against him twice. John Moraga, Ali Bugatinov, Kyoji Horiguchi, Henry Cejudo, Tim Elliott, Wilson Hayes, and Ray Borg. That is essentially his entire... Oh shit, I dropped my mic. Hold up. Ooh, that is essentially his entire title reign besides the Ian McCall win. I didn't include one title defense. I think it was Chris Carisco or whatever. Cariaso. I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's not a great fighter. I don't really consider him to be that great of a win. But that's also, you could, I guess, throw that on their losses. Henry Cejudo, this is only in the division. All right? I know Mighty Mouse has lost to Dominic Cruz in the UFC. That was at bantamweight. It's not flyweight. He only lost to Henry Cejudo at flyweight. So, again, he has really high highs with Benavidez, with Henry Cejudo. I guess Kyoji Horiguchi's actually pretty good as well. John Dodson at the time was decent. And then he has a lot of mid-level, kind of even less than mid-level wins, like a Ray Borg, like a Wilson Hayes, like a Bugatinov, like a Moraga. He has just a lot of... It's kind of they're kind of similar. But I think the main difference is modern flyweight compared to then flyweights. I think that if you take a lot of the people Pantoja beat, like Erceg, the size that he has on a lot of people, if you put him back then, I think he does really well. I think Brandon Moreno, Brandon Royval, they are really good guys, and I think they probably become champions back then. What needs to be done is the big question in this video, and it will be answered many a times. What needs to be done for Pantoja to become the champion? I think he needs to defend the title 4 more times. And the reason why I say this, even though I just said that flyweights now are better than the ones back then, it is a shallow division. So the guys that Pantoja is most likely going to beat are going to be repeats. That's the thing. Like I have the names up there. Kai France, who he is most likely going to fight at UFC 316. Possibly Royval. Possibly Moreno. Possibly Kopp, depending on what happens this weekend. Probably Tatsuro Tairo will get a title shot eventually. That's why I have it as 4. Because here's the thing. DJ's 11 is really good. Like, it's hard to stay a champion for that long. If Pantoja, in modern MMA standards, I know he's a flyweight, I know it's a shallow division, if he gets 7 title defenses in the 2020s, that is mad impressive. Okay, he already has 3. 4 more would get him there already. That is mad impressive. I don't care what you say. That is mad impressive. I know that flyweight is very shallow. It is... But flyweight was shallow back then as well. And I think that the flyweight division now has way deeper waters than the waters that were back then when Mighty Mouse was reigning, when he was champion. I will stand on that till I die. But like I said, 4 title defenses, I think Pantoja will have a very big chance of being labeled as the flyweight GOAT. Just considering that I think that modern flyweights are better. I think that is something that a lot of people can get behind. Especially if he defends it against the names that I have up there. Royval, really good. Kai France, really good. Moreno, if he beats Moreno 3 times in the UFC, that's his Max Holloway to Volkanovski. All right, that's fucking insane. And then Tatsuro Taira as well. Possibly a Kopp as well. Just some names floating around there. But I think that's what Pantoja would need to do. We move to bantamweight. The current champion is Merab Dvalishvili. I already have Merab as the bantamweight GOAT. You can argue with me all you want. I personally believe that he has one of the most touted resumes in UFC history, if I'm being honest. I really love the high end of his resume. I included a Katona win because he is a modern fighter. He is all right. He is going to a decision with John Matsumoto, who did go to a decision with Rob Font. I think that's decent. John Dodson, I get he was older. It was a close fight. Marlon Moraes, I think he was Merab the 3rd guy to knock him out? Or... Because he got him after Sanhagen, right? So that wins. All right. These next couple wins. Jose Aldo, Piotr Yan, Henry Cejudo, Sean O'Malley, and Umar Nurmagomedov. All, he 50-45 Piotr Yan, 29-28 at Henry Cejudo. If it was 5 rounds, he would have 49-46'd him. 48-47 Sean O'Malley beat Umar Nurmagomedov after dropping the first 2 rounds. Dude. What resume is stopping it? What resume is topping it? He only has 2 losses as well. So Dominic Cruz, who has lost in the future, I do count those losses, even though he had a really high career. He does have those losses. Same with TJ Dillashaw as well. All right. This guy, he lost his first 2 fights in the UFC. Since then, he's been completely and utterly, nobody can beat him. And depending on if he gets another Sean O'Malley win, which if they do book that, he will beat him again. That's free legacy, and that cements him as the bantamweight GOAT yet again. Okay? Because even though I'm not a huge fan of Sean O'Malley, he is really fucking good. If Merab gets free legacy, if Merab beats Pantoja, if Pantoja dares to move up and fights Merab, and Merab wins that I think that cements it anyways. I think he already is, but to those contrarians who are always going to be like, oh, Dominic Cruz is always going to be the fucking bantamweight GOAT. Oh, Aljo was before Merab, and I think Merab's above Aljo. I think he would have beat Aljo. So that's my bantamweight ranking. All right, we move to featherweight. Featherweight is tricky because, as we know, Ilia Topuria, who is the current quote-unquote champion, has vacated the title. He will become the vacant champion when the first round of Volkanovski-Lopez starts. I also want to say I have Alexander Volkanovski as the GOAT of featherweight, divisionally wise. I think that his resume is really fucking good. Let's start with Ilya's resume. Yusuf Zalal, that win has aged beautifully. It wasn't really a solid win when it happened, to be fair, but since then we've seen Yusuf Zalal is a real fucking problem. Damon Jackson I have on there just kind of for the fuck of it. Same with Ryan Hall. But then Bryce Mitchell, one of 2 guys to beat him. Josh Emmett, got a 10-7 round. Volkanovski knocked him out in round 2. Max Holloway knocked him out in round, was it 3? I think it was 3, right? That is mad impressive. What makes Ilya such a divisional, like he was so close, is the manner he's beating these guys in. He is beating the shit out of everybody besides Yusuf Zalal, by the way. He is beating the piss out of these guys. Damon Jackson, brutal KO. Ryan Hall, brutal KO. Bryce Mitchell was beating, it was a close fight. It was competitive for like a couple minutes, and then he just started whooping his ass again. He started to fade and then started whipping his ass again. Josh Emmett, he like 50-43'd him on like 2 scorecards and then 50-42'd him on 1. That's all you need to know about that fight. Volkanovski knocked him out in round 2. Max Holloway, the first guy to ever knock him down and knock him out. I know Gaethje probably should have gotten credited with a knockdown, but it is what it is. Alexander Volkanovski's resume. Jeremy Kennedy. I think Jeremy Kennedy is an underrated win when it happened. Darren Elkins is all right. Chad Mendez, great win. Jose Aldo, great win. Jose Aldo when he was like 32 as well. Max Holloway 3 times. That is the reason why Volkanovski is the featherweight GOAT. That main claim right there. 3 wins over Max Holloway. The third one being the most dominant, 50-45ing Max across 5 rounds. Coming back in the second fight after dropping the first 2 rounds to one of the best pace and pressure fighters of this generation. And then the first fight when he was like a plus 250 underdog. Okay? Add a Brian Ortega win. Add the TKZ win if you fucking want. And then Yair Rodriguez. His only loss in featherweight is to Ilia Topuria. Alright? Unlike Jose Aldo, who I love Jose, he has like fucking 6 losses at featherweight, man. Does he have 6 or 5? Does he have 4? 2 to Max, 1 to Volk, 1 to Connor. I think he only has 4 actually. My bad, my mistake, but still, all right. I'd rather him lose. I'd rather a Volkanovski KO loss to Ilia Topuria, who also knocked out Max Holloway, than 2 brutal Max Holloway beatings, 1 13-second KO, and then getting like absolutely smudged against Volkanovski as a GOAT of my division personally. I have what needed to be done. Because, of course, Ilya is moving up. He will no longer be a featherweight come whenever he fights. I think Ilya only needed to defend a couple more times. Because here's the difference between Volkanovski and Topuria. The only way Topuria would beat these fellas that I have up there, Volk again, Lopez, Evloev, and a mix of either Allen, Murphy, or Yair, I honestly think the first 3 would cement it anyways, is that the only way he'd beat these guys is by brutally knocking them out. That's the difference, is that he will always knock these guys out. More than likely, he is going to knock them out to win. Okay? That is what makes Ilia Topuria such a polarizing figure in the sphere of MMA, is the fact that he will only most likely win by knocking somebody the fuck out. If he knocked out Volk again, if he knocked out Lopez and then Evloev, dude, there's no debate. There's none whatsoever. He's already close with just Volkanovski, Holloway, and then the Emmett and Mitchell wins sprinkled on there as well. He's already close. Honestly, Volk, Lopez, maybe you don't even need the Evloev win. Maybe. But we'll never fucking know, because he's moving up. Let's move to the division he's moving up to, lightweight. Our champion at lightweight is Islam Makhachev. And I have my lightweight GOAT as Khabib Nurmagomedov. I think it's, I don't really know who you'd have above him, to be honest. Just the dominance that he had kind of cements him as the divisional GOAT. I do not have Islam above Khabib yet. He needs a bit more. Islam. Resume, Gleison Tebow, KO, Arman Sarukian. We've seen that age has wind. That win has aged. Holy shit. Phenomenally. Drew Dober, finished him. Thiago Moises, finished him. Dan Hooker, finished him. Bobby Green, finished him. Charles Oliveira, finished him. Volkanovski twice when he was pound for pound number 1. Beat him in the first fight pretty clearly in my opinion, and then knocked him out in the rematch, short notice, I get it. Dustin Poirier finished him. Hanano Moicano finished him. His one loss was in his second fight in the UFC against Adriano Martins, or Pantoja, depending on if you're fucking Brendan Schaub. The thing that will hold Islam back is the fact that people are always going to claim that he's only beating 145ers and he gets short notice opponents. That's about it. People will always discredit his reign because 2 of his wins are Volkanovski, 2 of his title defenses, that is. But they won't mention that he also TKO'd Charles Oliveira. Even though he was going to war with Poirier, he was clearly winning that fight for most of the fight. And then he finished him in the 5th round. Renato Moicano, he did what you should do against a fucking day-in sub. He subbed him in the 1st round, okay? So, if you're going to discredit him, at least credit him where it's due. He made Renato Moicano look like a 24-hour notice sub-in, alright? He made it look like that. Let's move to Khabib. Khabib also has a Gleison Tibau win. A little controversial. I've never watched it personally, but from what I see from the stats, it looked weird. RDA, before he became super washed, Michael Johnson, Edson Barboza, Al Iaquinta, Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, and then Justin Gaethje. No losses on the resume of Khabib Nurmagomedov. Also, Ilia Topuria, by the way, to mention, had no losses. Just reverting back, I think I forgot to mention that. Khabib, the thing that really helps him, besides the Gleison Tibau win, was the dominance. There was not a single Khabib fight where you're watching it and you're like, wow, this is really close for the most part. It was usually one-way traffic almost the entire time. And that's why Khabib is the divisional GOAT right now, is because how dominant he was. And I know he doesn't have the craziest wins, even though McGregor, Poirier, Gaethje, back-to-back-to-back are all crazy wins. People will always have the Al Iaquinta, how he won the title off of him. You won the fucking belt beating Al Iaquinta, dude. That's not his fault, all right? It just isn't. RDA, MJ, and Edson Barboza, those are really solid, like, sprinkle add-on wins to add onto Khabib's resume outside of the top 3. Al Iaquinta is that's probably his worst win outside of, like, Gleison Tibau. And that's what he won the belt off of, but that's not really his fault. That's just circumstantial shit. What needs to be done? I have that Islam needs to be more dominant. All right? He needs to be more dominant for the casual fan to become the divisional GOAT. People will watch the first Volkanovski fight and be like, this guy's fucking far off from Khabib. They'll watch the Poirier fight and see him get cut once and be like, this motherfucker needs to fucking get out there. And then the Renato Moicano one, he gets quote-unquote knocked down, and they're like, this fucking guy stinks. This guy sucks. No, he doesn't, dude. No, he doesn't. I had more dominant because that's what will make everybody believe he's the divisional GOAT. I don't even really think he needs to be more dominant. I think he's been quite dominant enough. What I think he really needs is maybe 2 more title defenses. He's already tied him. He's already tied Khabib with 3 title defense. Actually, he passed him. Yeah, he actually passed Khabib with 4. He's already passed Khabib with title defenses. He owns the lightweight title defense record. A couple more title defenses. 1, maybe. If he beats Topuria, he's past Khabib, in my opinion. If he beats Sarukian, he's past Khabib. If he beats Oliveira, I think he might. If he beats Gaethje, then he definitely needs 1 more. If he beats Oliveira, then he probably is over Khabib. 2 wins over Charles Oliveira, probably by finish again. If he beats Holloway, he'd probably need another win. All right. But Topuria, Sarukian, and Oliveira, you only need 1. If he beats Gaethje or Holloway, maybe 1 more. But even then, I think you can make an argument if he has a Gaethje and Holloway win on his resume, or Holloway rather, then I think you can definitely make an argument that outside, actually, Holloway people will discredit because he's a 145. Same with Topuria. People will discredit that one even though fucking Topuria is a juggernaut. People just hate Islam. I don't get it. We move to welterweight. The current welterweight champion is Bilal Muhammad. The welterweight divisional GOAT is George St. Pierre. There's argue with a fucking wall. Kamaru Usman is my favorite fighter. If you legit have him above George St. Pierre, you're smoking fucking crack. All right, I'll tell you that much. Let's get to Bilal Muhammad's resume. Wins. I have Randy Brown on there. Randy Brown's all right. Tim Means, another veteran. Damian Maia, Wonderboy Thompson, Vicente Luque, Sean Brady, Gilbert Burns, and then Leon Edwards to win the title. He does have 3 losses, that being Alan Jouban, Vicente Luque, and Jeff Neal. The Alan Jouban loss is not the greatest. Neither is the Vicente Luque one. His losses are all very weird, to be fair. Let's get to GSP. Jason Mayhem Miller, Frank Trigg, Sean Shirk, BJ Penn twice, Matt Hughes twice, Josh Koscheck twice, Matt Serra, John Fitch, Thiago Alves, Dan Hardy, Jake Shields, Carlos Condit, Nick Diaz, and Johnny Hendricks. I don't include the Bisping win because, of course, that was at middleweight. He has 2 losses, both Matt Hughes and Matt Serra, which, in my opinion, the Matt Serra loss is the reason why he's not the GOAT of the sport. Just a single loss like that really tanks you, in my opinion. Matt Serra is not somebody you should lose to because he was already cemented in the UFC, but that's a topic for another day whenever I make a GOAT list video, which I probably never will because I can't make my mind up. But what does Bilal need to do? What needs to be done? I don't think Bilal can lose. I think if Bilal loses once, he's already cooked. He can't lose like now because he'll lose the belt immediately. He needs to defend a shit ton, in my opinion. He needs to beat all the new guys. He needs to beat JDM. He needs to beat Shavkat. He needs to beat Leon again or Brady, and he needs to probably beat Buckley as well. Maybe Usman thrown in there as well. He needs to beat a lot of guys because this resume right here, 40-year-old Damian Maia and like 39 Wonderboy Thompson isn't that great. Vicente Luque as well has been on a downward spiral for like quite a bit of time. Sean Brady, I mean, we'll see how good that win is after the Leon Edwards fight. Gilbert Burns, he immediately tore his shoulder. That's not Bilal's fault, though. He caused the damage, but it was also short notice. Leon Edwards was just a really good win. People will make excuses. Oh, he was tired. I think what really holds Bilal back is his 3 losses. Because even though Matt Serra is a terrible loss, Alan Jouban is not that great either. And also adding, like, Matt Hughes is a great fighter. He's really good. And then he also beat him twice after the fact. He also redeemed the Matt Serra loss. Bilal only redeemed the Vicente Luque loss because he couldn't fight Alan Jouban or Jeff Neal because they were lower ranked. That's so weird. And dude, he got his ass whooped in those fights too. But yeah, I think that, it's not a great look for Bilal, but given his age, it is really hard for him to become the divisional GOAT, given his resume as of now. Listen, he's got some decent wins. Burns, Edwards, Brady, if you want to throw him on there, Luque, I guess. But man, it ain't looking too good. It ain't looking too good for good old Bilal. He needs to do a lot. I don't think he will become the divisional GOAT, given his age, and he'll probably lose in his next 2 fights, maybe 3, actually. Depending on if he's still on steroids. I'm kidding, but I don't think anyone's going to pass GSP anytime soon. If anyone was going to do it, it was going to be Kamaru Usman, but then Leon Edwards clip-farmed him. We move to middleweight. Our champion, Dricus du Plessis, Anderson Silva, my middleweight GOAT. I do not have Israel Adesanya as the middleweight GOAT. Honestly, I don't really know why. He definitely could be. I don't. I think him and Anderson Silva are kind of like the same person in moments. Well, let's get to DDP's resume. Brad Tavares, tough veteran. Darren Till, kind of the similar thing. Derek Brunson, similar thing. Robert Whittaker, Strickland twice. Israel Adesanya, no losses. Okay. Anderson Silva, Chris Liebenwin, Franklin twice. Nate Marquardt, Dan Henderson, Patrick Cote, Damian Maia, Chael Sonnen, twice at that. Vitor Belfort and Derek Brunson. You look at his losses, Chris Weidman twice, Bisping, Adesanya, Cannonier, and Uriah Hall. The reason why this one, in my opinion, is very doable is because of the amount of losses Anderson has. But also the thing that also helps Anderson, in this case, is that he didn't lose until he was like 38 years old. So that kind of does cushion it a little bit, I guess. I think what Dricus needs to do, what needs to be done for Dricus du Plessis, DDP, to become the middleweight divisional GOAT, I think he needs to beat the other new bloods. For example, if he defends against Khamzat, Imavov, and Bahalyo, maybe lap some other wins. If he beats any one of these 3, any 2 of these 3 actually, and then maybe add another like older win on top of that, like maybe Robert Whittaker if he ever finds himself back into a title shot position, dude, it's wraps. The Khamzat win will automatically throw him very high. Add Imavov on there, given the circumstances, what win streak he's on. If Bahalio finds his way into a title shot, depending on how well he looks in his next fight, dude, he's not that far off from Anderson Silva, mostly due to the fact that he doesn't have any losses. He hasn't lost to anybody, and he's fighting new middleweights. He's fighting the new guys. That's why I think he needs to beat the other new guys, because he beat Sean Strickland as well, who's he's not really a new middleweight. He's kind of been here since 2018, 2019. But Dreykus, he is the new generation, because Sean's also younger, but so is Khamzat, so is Imavov, so is Bahalio, right? They're the other young guns on the come up. Gregory Rodriguez, if he would have beat Jared Cannonier, he'd be thrown up there too. But he's not. He lost. I think DDP is not that far off. I think if he beats two of these three guys, I think I could see him definitely being above Anderson Silva. Especially if he gets a couple more title defenses, he will be undeniably the middleweight GOAT. And I know that's going to make so many people unhappy, because people are just like, he's not skilled at all, dude. He's not skilled at all, dude. Dreykus Duplessis is Captain Underpants. You'll fucking deal with it. We move to light heavyweight. Our current champion, Alex Pereira, versus John Jones, the light heavyweight GOAT, of course. It's it's kind of like you can't even argue with it. Alex Pereira, resume, Jan Blachowicz, Yuri Prochazka twice, Jamal Hill, Khalil Roundtree. All right. No losses as well. John Jones. Let's get into this fucking list. Ryan Bader, Shogun Rua, Rampage Jackson, Lyoto Machida, Rashad Evans, Vitor Belfort, Chael Sonnen, Alexander Gustafsson twice, Glover Teixeira, DC once, the other one was a no contest, OSP, Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos, and Dominic Reyes. One loss being Matt Hamill, even though it is heavily asterisks, with the 12-6 elbow, of course, being the reason for disqualification. What needs to be done by Alex Pereira to pass up John Jones? It's most likely impossible, given age. The division's not deep enough. It's just not, if you really look at it. If he beats Ankalaev, that'll be a really solid win. But who else is he going to fucking defend against? Yuri? Let's keep it a buck. The division is very shallow at light heavyweight. His next title defense will either be Yuri or fucking Carlos Ulberg. It's just not, for the time being, given how old Alex is as well, we probably don't have a crazy amount of fights left with him. I don't think he'll become the light heavyweight GOAT, mostly because people will always deny him, because he's, I don't know why people hate him. It's because he's not a good enough grappler. It's like, dude, fucking people shot takedowns before on him. They can't get him. Boo-hoo, motherfucker. But I think Alex Pereira can get a couple more title defenses, given that he does already have, 3 title defenses? Yeah, Yuri was a title defense, Jamal Hill was a title defense, and so he has 3 title defenses already. John Jones has what? Fucking 14 title defenses? Maybe more, actually? How many title defenses did John Jones have? He had 8 in a row, and then he won 3 more 11, so he actually only has 12, technically. But he's won 14 actual title fights. So, I mean, yeah, that's... And also, his resume, he does have, a lot of, old head wins, but he also does have, other stuff as well. You know what I mean? Which, I will say this, I'm a chronic believer that modern MMA is better. I think in the heavier divisions, not so much, if I'm being totally honest with you. I think in the heavier divisions, I think some of the older generation guys could probably come back and probably be ranked, if I'm being honest. Even though they are very sloppy-boppy, look at the light heavyweights now. Look at the heavyweights now, guys. Shamil Ghaziev's almost top 10. Okay? We might be cooked. All right, speaking of heavyweight, let's move to heavyweight. Our current champion, John Jones, and the heavyweight GOAT, Stipe Miocic. Kind of baseline heavyweight GOAT there. John Jones only has 2 fights right now at heavyweight, Cyril Gane and Stipe Miocic. No losses. Stipe Miocic at heavyweight has, oh boy, Daniel Cormier twice, Francis Ngannou, Junior Dos Santos, Alistair Overeem, Fabricio Verdum, Andrei Arlovsky, Mark Hunt, and Roy Nelson. He has 4 losses, that being John Jones, Ngannou, Cormier. Oh, wait, he has 5. Cormier, JDS, and Stefan Struve. My bad. I can't do maths right now. But he does have 5 losses, most of which are finishes. I think all of them are finishes. Or JDS was a decision, actually. What needs to be done by John Jones is impossible. He cannot pass up Stipe Miocic because John Jones is most likely going to either retire or fight one more time and then retire. So even if he beats Tom Aspinall, it won't be enough to pass up this fucking resume that Stipe Miocic has built up, in my personal opinion. Even though he does have 5 losses, they are 2 really solid guys. Also, John Jones, he was like 42 in that fight happened. Francis Ngannou, we don't talk about that. Francis Ngannou was a monster. Daniel Cormier was also, JDS. Those 2 Stefan Struve and JDS wins or losses are rather old as well. He also redeemed the JDS win or loss, so this is what it is. Let's move to the other heavyweight champion, Tom Aspinall. I did do a Tom Aspinall slide for all you guys who think that Tom Aspinall is the champion. He is the interim champion. Tom Aspinall versus Stipe Miocic. Let's look what needs to be done for Tom Aspinall. Let's look at not what needs to be done. We're not there yet. Let's look at his resume. Curtis Blades, Sergey Pavlovich, Volkov, Ty Burra, Spivak, Andrei Arlovsky. He has 1 loss in the UFC, being Curtis Blades, because he tore his ACL. It's very asterisk. Stipe Miocic, I already labeled every single win and loss he has at heavyweight. I don't need to repeat it. You can read, I hope, at least. Hopefully I didn't offend any of you illiterate fucks out there. What does Tom need to do? In a fairy tale world where he does fight John Jones, if he would beat John Jones and finish him, that would be very good for his resume at heavyweight. And if he can defend against a couple other guys, like a Gane, like a Almeida, like a Volkov, like a Pavlovich, if he can repeat some other wins, I think that Tom Aspinall can definitely become the heavyweight GOAT. The problem with Tom is he's most likely going to be fighting the same guys over and over again, kind of like a Pantoja. So the wins won't seem as good because, he already fucking beat these guys before. The heavyweight division is very shallow. I think Tom would need to rack up quite a few wins to pass Stipe Miocic. But if he keeps doing it in the way he's doing it, a.k.a. knockouts in the first minute of every first round, he can definitely pass Stipe Miocic way quicker. Maybe if he fights John Jones, beats him, if he beats Gane, Almeida, or Volkov, Gane, Almeida, and or Volkov, Pavlovich, he's the heavyweight GOAT, in my opinion. He has modern heavyweights as well. Give or take a couple other wins as well. Top 10 guys. I think he's very close to becoming. Not very close, but he can definitely do it. He has a way better chance of becoming a heavyweight GOAT than John Jones does. All right. But yeah, that's the video. What do you guys think needs to be done? Who are your guys' divisional GOATs? Leave them in the comments below. If you like the video, give it a like. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe. I always try to strive to make better content for you guys. But, yeah, what do you think needs to be done by these current champions in the UFC? I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.